Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News, where we bring you the latest, most anticipated developments affecting the dinar community across Iraq and beyond. With the country's financial future hanging in delicate balance, today's story strikes right at the core of what many have been patiently waiting for: the potential shift in the Iraqi dinar's exchange rate, resting on what some insiders believe to be a pivotal judicial ruling. As tensions build and hope cautiously stirs among citizens and investors alike, we examine what's unfolding around Article 122C, a cryptic clause that might hold the power to reshape Iraq's economic destiny. There's a palpable charge in the air across Iraq, not from sandstorms or political speeches, but from the anxious anticipation of change. From the narrow lanes of Baghdad to conversations echoing in the quiet corners of Basra, people are clinging to whispers that justice may finally be served, and with it, the long-awaited shift in the dinar's value. On social media and within forums buzzing with speculation, one question continues to surface: is Article 122C the mechanism that will finally deliver a currency realignment? Across the country, both citizens and the Iraqi diaspora are watching developments unfold with cautious optimism. Many are focusing their attention on Iraq's Supreme Court, the nation's highest judicial authority, which appears to be nearing a significant ruling, one that may go far beyond routine legal procedure. This is more than just a legal case. It could very well be a turning point that reverberates through Iraq's economic framework. Deep within this legal process lies Article 122C, a clause many believe is holding back a groundbreaking revision to the exchange rate. To some, the idea that Iraq's economic transformation might depend on a hidden legislative clause sounds like fiction. But in a country where history has often been shaped in the shadows of politics, such a theory is not so far-fetched. The notion that a nation's financial fate could rest on a single article may seem dramatic, but insiders argue this is no exaggeration. If the rumors surrounding 122C are accurate, this clause contains language capable of initiating a significant currency revaluation, an act that would reposition the Iraqi dinar on both regional and international stages. This wouldn't just be a change in numerical values on screens or paper. Such a development would directly impact lives across the spectrum: salaries, the cost of imported goods, retirement savings, and Iraq's global financial standing. All would shift dramatically. Supporters of the revaluation believe that Iraq has long been operating under artificial constraints. Despite the country's vast oil reserves and natural resources, the average Iraqi has faced daily financial stress, devalued wages, and a prolonged sense of economic stagnation. Many citizens have waited for years, trusting that leadership would eventually make the necessary moves. They've endured years of instability, political disarray, foreign occupation, terrorism, and corruption scandals. And yet, despite it all, the hope for economic revival still persists. That's why this moment centered around Article 122C feels different. It's not just about legal language, it's about a vision for Iraq's recovery and potential future. The Supreme Court's role in this story cannot be overstated, with increasing speculation that the court is preparing to rule on legislation either involving or directly tied to the long-discussed exchange rate. The nation is paying close attention. Known for its deliberate and methodical approach, the court has nonetheless maintained an unusual level of secrecy around the 122C, a sign, many believe, that something transformative lies within. This is not routine legal housekeeping. It's being treated like a fulcrum around which the country's post-conflict recovery might pivot. Over 2 decades have passed since the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, and Iraq has faced multiple existential challenges: foreign occupation, internal insurgencies, the rise and fall of ISIS, and layers of political instability. Still, the vision of an autonomous and thriving Iraq persists, especially in the realm of economics. And if this legislative moment delivers what many are hoping for, it could mark the beginning of that long-deferred promise finally being kept. The chatter online has grown louder by the day. What were once passive forums filled with frustration and questions have transformed into hubs of guarded optimism. People who typically monitor market trends or political intrigue are now focused on court calendars and judicial outcomes. Economists, traders, and everyday workers alike have joined in the chorus of anticipation. "It feels like the Supreme Court is ready," one observer remarked, "and when they act, the exchange rate follows." It's a sentiment echoed far and wide. This moment feels almost cinematic. A country holding its breath, watching for a decision that could reset its financial direction and restore its people's faith in the system. But even with hope swelling in many hearts, the waiting is not easy. There's no official date set, no press conference teased, just a building pressure that refuses to dissipate. Behind all the speculation and high-level legal talk lies something deeply personal. The father who has been setting aside dinars, dreaming they'll be worth more someday. The young student who longs to study abroad. The shopkeeper whose supply costs rise each month. These stories are more than anecdotes. They're the heartbeat of a nation in limbo. And for these individuals, this isn't a matter of politics or policy. It's about financial survival. As the wait continues, the emotional intensity behind the financial anticipation only grows. The people of Iraq aren't merely waiting for numbers to adjust. They're waiting for justice to materialize in a real and meaningful way. And that's what gives this legal situation such weight, because to the average citizen, a shift in the dinar's value isn't about economic theory. It's about being able to live with dignity, to plan for a future, and to believe that their sacrifices over the past decades were not in vain. Justice in this context isn't just about the letter of the law. It's about repairing the deep fractures in public trust. It's about seeing leadership act with courage and conviction instead of compromise and delay. The Supreme Court, by keeping Article 122C protected and shrouded in legal formality, appears to understand the gravity of what lies within. Observers say this level of caution indicates the court recognizes not only the domestic importance of the decision, but also its broader geopolitical implications. Because make no mistake, should Iraq realign its currency value in a significant way, it wouldn't just be a win for citizens at home. It would signal to international investors, financial institutions, and regional partners that Iraq is once again a serious economic player. Such a move could open doors to expanded trade, debt restructuring, and even increased foreign direct investment. All of that, however, hinges on what emerges from behind the veil of Article 122C. And still, no official confirmation, no press briefing, only measured legal procedure and the rising voice of public expectation. Yet there's a strange comfort in this silence, too. It implies that decisions are being made deliberately, without political theater or last-minute amendments, that perhaps, for once, due process is being allowed to take its course in full, uninterrupted by pressure or chaos. This silence has become its own kind of signal, one that fuels a powerful mixture of anxiety and optimism. People from all walks of life, financial analysts, university students, merchants, and government workers, are united in this period of anxious anticipation. The entire country, in many ways, is standing still, waiting for clarity, for confirmation, for the moment that has eluded them for far too long. In the meantime, speculation has evolved into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Live streams, Telegram groups, and independent commentators are dissecting every clue, every whisper, every minor legal movement, hoping to interpret the direction of the court. And in the midst of all this noise, one sentiment is beginning to dominate: hope. Not blind hope, but informed, grounded, data-supported belief that this moment is different. This belief is what sustains the Iraqi people through so many false starts, postponed reforms, and dashed expectations. It's what fuels the continued tracking of 122C and the broader economic policies it may affect. And it's why so many are holding their breath, because when the ruling finally drops, it could unlock a chain reaction, one that starts with a court decision and ends with a revitalized national economy. The significance of such a moment cannot be overstated. It's not just the financial side, although that alone is enough to change lives. It's also psychological, a symbolic victory that tells the world Iraq is not stuck in the past, but is ready to emerge with renewed strength, sovereignty, and strategy. Citizens are hoping to see their dinars mean more, not just in exchange rates, but in what they represent: pride, progress, and promise. Some experts believe that once this decision is announced, assuming it aligns with expectations, implementation could follow relatively quickly. Infrastructure, legislation, and policy drafts have reportedly been prepared in anticipation. Banking systems are already being tested for digital transition compatibility. Some private banks have begun quietly adjusting their internal models to accommodate potential valuation changes. These are not coincidences, they are signals. And then there's the global context. With shifting oil prices, changing geopolitical alliances, and the growing significance of Middle Eastern financial markets, Iraq is positioned at a strategic intersection. A revalued dinar could give the country greater leverage and appeal. It could shift the dynamics in trade negotiations, alter foreign currency reserves, and reposition Iraq as a center of regional economic activity rather than a post-conflict question mark. But again, everything circles back to Article 122C, a single clause, a sliver of text buried in dense legislation, yet potentially powerful enough to recalibrate an entire nation's direction. That's the magnitude of what we're dealing with. And that's why this moment feels like so much more than a policy decision. It feels like a collective turning point. In closing, what's coming next may well define Iraq's trajectory for the next decade, and while no outcome is ever guaranteed, the tide of expectation is undeniable. It's been building for months, maybe even years. All eyes remain fixed on the Supreme Court, and particularly on what lies hidden in Article 122C. If that article indeed contains the long-awaited exchange rate adjustment, then the impact will be swift, powerful, and deeply felt across all segments of society. To all of you following this journey with us here at Iraqi Dinar News, we encourage you to stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay hopeful. These are the moments when nations define themselves, and when belief in a better future becomes more than a wish, it becomes a movement. Until the next update, thank you for watching, subscribing, and continuing to stand by as history quietly prepares to make its next move.